Sometimes working on the balance postures can be very challenging. What I always recommend is when you're beginning to learn some of the more difficult balancing postures, that you consider perhaps adding a chair near your mat so that you can use the chair for support. Now, depending on where you're at in your balance, you may need to use the back of the chair, or you might want to use just the seat of the chair. In this particular video, I'm going to show you from the seat of the chair how to go into half moon pose. So half moon pose, we begin by standing on our mat, and generally speaking, you can do this either on a nice firm floor, you can do this on your mat, but if you're on your mat, you're going to want to be sideways onto the mat so that you can stretch your feet out and your feet will be very stable. For the purpose of this video though, I'm just going to step a little bit off of the mat. I'm going to have at least my back foot on a mat surface, and I'm going to step out and point my toe in the direction of the chair. So I'm finding a nice stable posture here. Not quite a warrior two posture, but pretty close. So now I'm going to start to come up onto my tiptoe, and I'm going to drop my hand down onto the seat of the chair, and I'm going to support my weight between my hand and my foot, and I'm going to begin to lift the back leg up. And I'm pushing my heel away as I do this to help stabilize the muscles in my leg. Quite often when we first start to do this posture, we have a difficult time rotating the hip up toward the ceiling. This might just be your first challenge. So if it is, just be happy to start to work on lifting the leg up so that the leg is stable, it's flat, and your foot is parallel to the back of your mat. Your heel slightly pushing away further. I'm going to come back into the stance, coming into it, and the next thing I'm going to do is begin to lift my shoulder up toward the ceiling, flattening my body out. And then I'm going to raise my arm up toward the ceiling, finding my balance here. The next step you would do after you feel very confident on a chair is to attempt this by using a block. This will mean that you will drop down a little bit lower than you do with a chair. For obvious reasons, the block is not quite as high as the seat of a chair, the average chair would be. But what you will find is that if you follow the same rules of tightening up, strengthening up through the body, that you will be able to manage it even getting down just a little bit lower toward the floor. I know you've probably seen videos where you've seen somebody actually plant their hand down on the floor. This is really not the half moon pose. The half moon pose is a lateral stable pose where between your head and your back of your foot that you are nice and flat, one long elongated line. So I'm just going to flip back into this, and as I do this, I'm going to talk out loud about the things that I'm telling my body to do as I go into the half moon pose. So I'm going to step out. I have my toe pointed in the general direction of the chair. This will depend on my ankle, how my ankle feels, if I can have my foot directly pointed toward it, or maybe it might be just a little bit on an angle. I'm going to feel the floor. I'm going to push up onto my big toe. I'm going to drop my hand down onto the seat of the chair. I'm going to begin to lift my back leg up. I'm going to stare at a spot off in the distance called the Drishti point. I'm going to start to lower my head down toward the chair so that I feel very long and very flattened out. I'm going to push my heel out, start to tighten up the muscles in my legs, tighten up the muscle in my belly. I'm going to lift my shoulder up, tightening up a little bit around the midriff, strengthening the muscles. I'm going to start to reach for the ceiling and look up toward the ceiling. Breathe and push off, come back to a standing position. And then you can do it on the other side. One side will always be much more cooperative than the other. It's just the way the body is. And it's just something in yoga we start to get used to, and so we work a little harder with the side that tends to not want to cooperate. So there you go, half moon pose, modified to help you to attain balance. Thanks. Bye for now. This is Sandra, Northern Zen Yoga.